In this tutorial, we're going to look at another example of cutting on a non-voiced consonant, but we're going to use a new technique to create more refined edits. You see, normally when you edit video, your edits can go all the way down to the frame level. And because there are usually 24 frames per second, that means that the most detail that you can get is 1/24th of a second. But a lot of times when editing audio, this just isn't enough control. So many editing suites, including Adobe Premiere, as we'll see in a second here, allow you to edit not at just the frame level, but at the audio sample level. Now in the project panel, if I open up the video track and click on the video here, I have the preview showing here, which is an option here in the project panel to show the preview area. But I can see details for the video, but I can also see details for the audio attached to the video. In this case, it's 48,000 hertz. This is probably the most common audio sample rate for film projects, but sometimes you'll see 44,100 hertz as well. And for our intended purposes as editors, we could think of this almost like the frame rate of the audio. So whereas the video has only 24 frames per second, the audio has 48,000 samples per second. So that is actually 48,000 cut points, potential cut points per second. Now let's look at this example here. This is quite embarrassing. This is me from the cinematography course. And I made a mistake, as I am wont to do. And so here's what this looks like. Parks. As a matter of fact, I had to edit around boaters and having people... Oh, there it is. I blew it. And having people... And so then I had to do it over again. As a matter of fact, I had to edit around boaters and people having picnics. So then I really wanted to cut... The best plosive for me to cut on was right here. On boaters and... On the S of boaters. Boaters and... So then I wanted to cut like right there. That's where the S of boaters is. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Command K on the Mac, Control K on the PC to cut there. And here's where the other one is. I put markers so that this could go a little bit faster. Command K, Control K again after selecting it. And then I can, with the middle section selected here, I could hit the delete key to delete it. Smash these together. And it's going to be close. Hit around boaters and people having... And there's a little bit of a jump. Let me zoom in here. Maybe bring that a little closer. That's all the way. It's still not great. Around boaters and people. So there's still a little bit of a jump. We need to adjust that more fine-tuned. I think that if I were to drag this clip over one more frame, boaters and people have. That's a little bit. It jumps a little bit too much. So I'm going to undo that by hitting Command Z or Control Z on the PC. And if I moved it over this way a little bit more. Actually, I could just hold down the Command key to get the rolling edit tool. That'd be the Control key on the PC. Move that over one frame this way. Boaters and people having... That's still a little bit janky. I want something in between this frame and the other frame. So the way that we can do this is by adjusting the sample rate. So I can go to the little flyout menu for the timeline panel here. And here's the key. Show audio time units. And this is a little bit of a misnomer to me because this is not just showing audio time units. This is allowing you access to edit at the time unit level, at the sample level. So it's more that the option makes it sound like it's just a display option to show it. But no, this actually changes how you can edit. So I'm going to click this. And when I do, notice the time code here. Do this. And now this changes because it was hours, minutes, seconds, and frames. Now it's hours, minutes, seconds, and samples. So right now the playhead is at 16,304. So now I could go in here and I could actually now zoom in much more closely than I could before. I can edit much more finely than I could before as well. And actually it's not letting me edit. I can grab over here and it's not letting me get really fine-tuned. The reason why is because the audio and the video here are linked. So when I want to move the video can't operate or be cut at the sample level, only the audio can. So I have to deselect this and then hold down the Alt key on the PC or the Option key on the Mac to select just the audio, or you could unlink the audio and video, and now I can get a very finely tuned edit. Look at that tooltip. About 35,000. Look at that, 34,000. I mean, really, really finely tuned sample size. Another thing about this that I can do is I can select this cut point here and press Command-Shift-D on the Mac or Control-Shift-D on the PC to apply the default transition. And I can actually now go in and shrink this down. Normally by default, you could only, the smallest you can shrink this transition is to 2 frames, one on each side. So it basically blends over 2 frames. But I actually shrink this down and make this very, very, very tiny if I want to. So you see we have total control and flexibility for adjusting audio to get things just right. Now, I like to think of sample level editing almost like a mode that I'm in. So I like to enter that mode to do these kind of audio edits, and then you can get things messed up. So what I like to do is go right back and then uncheck show audio time units to get back to frame level editing, just so I don't make any inadvertent mistakes or tweaks. Now, as you can imagine, zooming in to 1/48,000th of a frame, or 1/48,000th of a second, I should say, it gets very tedious. So I took my time a little bit more and edited, and this is the final result, which hopefully in the training I covered up with some B-roll. Hopefully you didn't notice. Around boaters and people having picnics in this shot. So get in there, fine-tune that edit, and find the just right spot where these 2 clips blend together. So, editing at the sample level can be a lifesaver for fine-tuning your audio edits. But, dialogue actually isn't the place where this comes in handy. I've also used this to get a better sync with audio and video. Sometimes, for whatever reason, like the lips and the video just don't seem to match exactly right. And it's not quite a frame off, but just a little bit makes it feel a little bit better to me sometimes. It's also extremely helpful when precisely editing music tracks, like when you need to remove a chunk of a song, like if you're using a song from a soundtrack and you need to remove like a verse and a chorus or something like that and connect it to something else. Sometimes you need to get in there at the sample level to make that blend a little bit more smoothly together. Now, I don't use this technique in every project. I'm not sure that I even used it on the Assurance. I couldn't find an example of it in the edit, but when I do use it, it does save me from having to do pickup recordings all the time. So hopefully you'll find it useful as well.